Hi guys, it's Kate from New York with Soulsessed Twins.
Hi, guys. It's Kerry from California, and we are so excited to dive into this episode. We're going to be discussing all the benefits of aging and how we've had to jump on board because it's happening like it or not, and coming to really feel that we do like it. I mean, I would never want to be 20 years old again, honestly.
Oh my God, that's so true. Oh, yeah, to go back, like really any part of my life. Now that you've just said that, I feel like the benefits of aging mostly is mindset. It really has to do with, mental development and mental growth and really seeing things for what they are and prioritizing what really matters. What's really going to give you joy? What's really going to give you peace and serenity? And that to me is mental wellness.
Yeah, 100%. And just feeling like all the wisdom and all of the examples and life lessons that obviously you can only get from experiencing life, right? And I mean, I do think like the only thing why I would ever want to be 20 is because of my skin. I would have taken better care of it. And that was like pretty much the only thing. But otherwise, like, just all the strength that's been acquired, all of the finding out who I am, and all the lessons that we get to learn along the way, and just all the growth and maturity that you establish by becoming a woman, right? And growing up, that I
Yeah.
would never change and never trade. I would, yeah. I was going to say I might change a couple things based on just today's outlook, but you can't. So jumping on board. And I also feel like it's also bodily for me. Like I feel like older women to me are so much more attractive than like a younger woman.
Well, I just see them as children. Like I really, every time I see even girls that are in their 20s and late 20s, I'm like, you have so, like life hasn't even begun for you. That's kind of how I feel. And also, too, probably because we got sober at 29. So, my, and I want to ask you this too, my turning point where obviously this really changed and the maturity, aging in terms of my mental health obviously happened at 29 when I got sober. But into adulthood, my real turning point, I had a pivotal moment. I was 40 years old and it was still looking for external validation, looking to be fulfilled with external things. I mean, for me, external things was really people. I was still really wanting the social life. I wanted friends, all of that. And I didn't realize how much it was causing agony, actually, to be building and wanting so much more that's not there, like it's not appropriate. And having this turning point with a friend where there, it could have just been as simple as not getting back to me in the time that I wanted to be responded to. And I just was like, I've had this, like what am I doing, and why am I doing that? Why am I reaching outside of my family, my husband, my kids, for this fulfillment, for this happiness, for this joy? And it always leaves me empty. It never fulfills me. And I realized that because I did that my whole life. My whole life, I was going outside of my home to seek safety, comfort, validation, all of that, because yes, I had parts of that at home growing up, but I didn't have enough for me, whatever that means. Carrie and I, we have There's 6 siblings. There's 6 of us. It could have been just enough for 3, 4 of them, whatever. It wasn't for me. And that's all that matters. It only has to matter what my needs were. And so I went outside of the house and I had a huge moment of like, boom, that's why I am not seeking solace and comfort within my own environment, within my own family, within my own self, is because I never felt I was getting it there. So it was a
Yeah.
huge turning point of now, like, I literally just will never forget just dropping it and being with Kelly and Harry, my kids, and starting to feed that real soul of me that needs that comfort, that safety, that security in my home, in my own nucleus.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, that's just so true to when you're just not used to it. You weren't raised to have that training that it's going to be with you and where you're at. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I wasn't in it. We just weren't raised in that.
yeah. And I mean, I definitely had like, I loved like going home. Like, I definitely had like safety and like loved being, the youngest of the 6 and like being around them and stuff. Like, I think that we can relay, like, don't get us wrong. Like, I definitely had like a, a feeling of family and safety in the house, but this is like beyond what we're describing. I think it's just more like really finding it where we all eventually have to find it, which is within, right? And really finding that true growth, which is going to be personal development. And that's where the maturity is at. That's where your real true security comes from. That's where you're going to find that true safe feeling. And that's what I feel like we're not all trained to do, which is find it within yourself. So getting all these tools going and all of this, it's like even feeling, a sense of safety and like love there, and there's like fun, and we can have like things going on in your life, but it's like, but something's missing. That's what we're talking about, right? It's like you can even have a great experience going on, but it's like something is missing. I'm still feeling like I'm grasping at straws here. Like something's just off. And it's that inner peace.
Yeah. And realizing that, I was asking too much sometimes of an experience of a person, realizing it's not their responsibility. That could be, from anybody, a sibling, a friend, a child, a husband, a spouse, all of these people, to realize like, where is my level of expectation from them? And is it reasonable? Am I setting myself up? Expectation is like the best way to get a resentment because you have your own idea of what somebody should be. And when they fall short, you're miserable. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. And really seeing that like in the environment that I was in. And, I mean, it just was like, so obviously people know I was in a cult for years. And so I was just around people that couldn't give me what I needed, and really coming up and butting my head against the wall with who I was trying to get it from, and having that exact experience of like constantly being massively disappointed and left like so wanting and needing and just like desperate in a way. I mean, I was all on my own. I was off in California and then around people that I don't really know, right? I don't really have any upbringing with them and all this stuff. So the connection was really vulnerable already. And to just be left like, why am I doing this? And this isn't where I'm going to get it from. And just like you said, having me turn inward and create that building block of getting connected with myself. And that's where I found it. And that's where it is. So it was like such a blessing, right? To really be not able to get it, which no one can because it didn't come from anybody else, to really force the inward looking and get it.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And realizing just so much power that exists, like the real, you know, hurrah or whatever, where it's really at is within you. And it's always, I love too with aging and maturity, realizing that life, when we're going through pain and we're going through really hard times, or like, why is this happening to me? And realizing that life is always happening for me. Realizing that I just went through this with my son, just about him having his own learning experience and him struggling through a sport that he's playing right now and not feeling his best and not feeling his confidence. He's lost it. And how are you going to regain it? Where does that come from? And we just had a conversation last night. And honestly, it's these little moments that is like, this is it. This is what life for me is all about, is giving it also back to my kids, everything that I have learned over the years, and saying that exact phrase to him that, this is when you're being challenged, when you feel down on yourself, when something's going on that you don't quite understand, because God, for me, wants you stronger, is tapping you on the shoulder and saying, okay, you're ready now. I want you at your next level. I want you here, but you have to go through this. You have to trust me. Can you do it? And for him to be able to digest it and really understand that, and me say, it's happening for you, Kelly. It's not happening to you. It's not against you. Life is never against you. It's for you. And just like it's so, how cool is that? And then just to be like, yeah, that was, another huge turning point for me was realizing that. Like, remember saying that all the time, like, God, why is this happening? And this thing is happening to me. And it's like, no, it's happening for you. You just have to find, what is the lesson? What's the message?
Yeah, I feel like I've been saying that lately, actually.
Yeah.
And seeing that, like, I don't know. I just have had to next level a lot and constantly lately. And so to really have to not be able to sit in the victim mentality and seeing it and just have to say, I just can't even be here. I have to look at, this is for me. This isn't happening to me. This is for me. What's the lesson here? How can I grow? How can I turn it around? What is a solution? What can I do? Right? And it literally is, I don't even know if any of this shit is real anymore. Like there's a universe and, all of this. But what I've come to realize lately too is it's just for your mental health. It feels better to believe that things are happening for you than to you. It just feels better, which has you more in a solution oriented space and energy so that things can unfold in your head to what you could do. Okay, what could I do? Because you're calmer, your nervous system is calmer, you're not as stressed. Stress will ruin everything. You can't think about anything of what to do except for the problem when you're sitting in it. And so, like maturity like that, and aging like that, and getting the wisdom, because I've sat in this is happening to me for too long, that it just ended up ruining things for way longer than needed to be, to get it quicker of, this doesn't do anything for me. worry, anxiety doesn't do anything. It doesn't help the problem. It only makes it worse. And then you still got to deal with the problem once you realize that. So get it sooner than later, and to turn it around to, okay, what's the lesson here? What can I do? Has just been tremendous. And why? Because we all have to level up constantly,
Yep.
whether that be materially or externally, whatever it is, largely internally to get you there externally. And it's a constant growth period. And so we just learn to get on with it quicker rather than later. That's maturity and aging.
Yeah. Or suffer. That is all that is that, worry is, yeah, it gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. It gives you nothing. And once you realize that when you are suffering, when you feel really stuck and don't understand something, it's because we're closed to this idea. We're in a victim mode. This is happening to me. Why me? Why me? Because God thinks that much of you, because the universe thinks that much of you and wants you next leveled, wants you to learn this lesson wherever that takes you. But as long as we're putting those positive steps, we're loving ourselves forward, we're going to get there. But it's anytime we are suffering, that's an indication. That is your life's bell ringing, saying you're not paying attention. You're not, I want you to understand this. We have to open our eyes and see the good in this. There is good here, but you got to do the work. And so often it's through the struggle. I mean, I feel,
It is the struggle.
it's through
I'm
the
just going to say, like the level up, it's always through these times. That is exactly right. It's like the bell is ringing to get you to wake up, to change, to do it, to grow, to level up. Otherwise, yeah, sit there and suffer. But that's why these moments are happening, to grow.
right. Otherwise, substance comes in. We don't change, we don't embrace it, we don't recognize it for the good that it is. We start drinking more, we start maybe even smoking more, we're shopping more, we start using our emotions of anger or criticism more, we start being restless and irritable more, until we just say, wait a minute, I mean, that's maturity right there. That's aging. That is from growing and being on this earth for now 47 years and getting my ass kicked emotionally and mentally. And the only reason why I know it's because I've done it. I've fought tooth and nail, and I've sat in pity for so long, weeks at a time in the beginning of when I started to change and realize, and it was said to me, it's all these gifts are given to me of saying and hearing these phrases that it's happening for you, it's not happening to you. It's just then a matter of when crisis comes, when, your challenge comes, when your struggle comes, to remember it, to remember, oh, okay, all right, because it's not going to feel good. It's 9 out of 10 times it doesn't feel good. That's when you have to buck up and you have to say, all right, it's happening for me, it's not happening to me. I love that lesson.
Yeah, I mean, you either get that, it's sink or swim, really. It's so true. And yeah, so just to keep reiterating that, I mean, it's just like there's always something we can do. That is like gold, worth its weight in gold as well. It's just like, God, there's always something we can do. Our perspective is literally everything. It is how you're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
And either you're looking at things negatively, which brings in more problem, or you're looking at it positively, which brings in more solution.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I honestly, it's like, I would never, yeah, I just like, and also like us talking too about aging and stuff like that, even physically, I loved like just our perspective is so different and where we were coming from as well of like being identical twins. And, you know, before our reunion and really coming together and stuff, and which we had mentioned last episode, like I haven't really thought about appearance and all that stuff so much, right? Until we've come together and been like, oh, like here's all the comparison. Um, but us communicating about it and being honest and has had me embrace it now even more. So before we got together, I felt like I had embraced it pretty well. Wrinkles had really appeared the last year or so exponentially. So I was dealing with that anyways, and like, whatever, it is what it is, but coming together has exacerbated how I really felt about it. But us being honest has really helped me now come to another turning point on the whole thing and what we've gone through and what our bodies have done for us and what I put my body through. And we were laughing the other day of like, this wrinkle is wisdom, a wisdom wrinkle, which is like, I don't know how I feel about the wisdom wrinkles quite yet, but I don't think I'm 100% there. But definitely getting older is I wouldn't want to go back.
No, I would never. And then I was thinking too, like another real gift is finally choosing who you're being around and who your circle is, and having the maturity to let go of those relationships that aren't serving you. When you realize when you leave someone, friend, relative, anybody, spouse, when you leave them and you're deflated or you're feeling like shit about yourself, you're questioning yourself, that is when you question that relationship. And I feel like when you're older and you get years behind you, your tolerance lessens to garbage, to not being treated well. I feel like my tolerance for that I won't accept it. And I don't have to explain that to anybody but me, even to my husband. It has to make sense for me. The person has to fit for me in order for it to make sense. And that's as far as it goes. Of course, if I will have a conversation about it and talk about it and see what my struggle or problem is with this person. And maybe if it is on me, if there's something that I can change and I see that, great. But I'm talking about people that don't lift you up, that don't benefit you.
Totally. 100%. I just feel like, yeah, I mean, I guess that comes with doing inner work and growing up, and maturity is just self-respect. It's just like, I won't allow myself to be treated that way or around somebody like that. And it's just sort of like, does definitely become like a no-brainer. Like, I just don't have time for that. I don't have time or, interest. And I was not able to separate, from people that if I didn't like them or they didn't like me, it was almost like I had to try to get it to happen. It was like more of a, it had to be more hooked in. Like I was like, this has to work. And then, as you get more mature, you're like, I don't like them though. They suck.
Forget them not liking me. I
Yeah.
don't like them.
Yeah.
What am I like missing here? And the trick though, sometimes, and I know this can be hard, especially if you are in a group and it's a group of you and you realize like you don't like one of the people, the friends that are in the group. Okay. You don't have to force yourself to be friends with that person. Yes, you have to have, love and tolerance and be civil, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to then include people that I don't like in my everyday life. I do have to tolerate some certain people that are in a certain type of group. They do, they are there, but I don't have to attach to that. And I do just have to accept that I'm not going to like everybody. They're certainly not going to like me. And I'm not going to like, and I'm not going to like everything that I got to deal with. Sometimes, like, that's the way it goes, but I don't have to welcome and accept that into my life on a daily basis. I don't say yes to that.
Yeah, exactly. And to realize that too, like I don't have to be around people just because they're there, or suck it up, or do it's like, no, I don't like them, they don't like me, no problem. But also too, experiences like that can just be such a great lesson. It's like, what don't you like about them? Why are you feeling the way that you're feeling? Because sometimes it is me, and sometimes it is because it's bringing up a past memory from somebody else, and I was treated this way and they're reminding me of that. So to clear that up, it's like, oh, thanks for the great nudge. That was a nugget left in me that needs to get carved out and thrown away. And you can either have a new experience with them because you realize it had nothing to do with them. It had to do with you. And that gets cleared up. And it's like, wow, a new relationship can forge. Or it's just, you're just not compatible. And that's okay. That's it. That's all right. And it's amazing too. Like, so being divorced and being on like the dating scene, and like really seeing, you get to see like if something doesn't work out, right? Like why you're attracted there. Like talk about leveling up and seeing like, oh, like if I'm, any insecurity or any lack of respect for yourself, and not and allowing yourself to be around something that isn't to your highest good and truly for you, getting to see that painfully, to then wake up to like really see what you deserved, call it in. Same thing with friendships, basically. Same thing with anything. But I've seen that, like, just like, getting divorced too. Like, you can feel super insecure. Like, I felt like super empowered and like amazing. And then, God was around somebody that wasn't the best. And now really seeing like we've been saying the entire time, like, oh, this is for me to level up. This isn't to me. This is an absolute blessing and a total like calling to let's step up our game here. It's just amazing. Every situation is,
Right.
it's like friendship, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. That's what it's for. It's
Right.
always to level up and learn the lesson.
Mhm. Yeah. So
What we'll tolerate and what we won't.
right. Yeah. It's just really the beauty about aging most is just learning how to put you first. That really is just like what your opinion matters most, and who you put around you is so critical to you having a good life. And don't explain yourself. You don't have, doesn't have to make sense to anybody but you, but who you have around you, the influences around you, they will influence you. So I'm not, you don't easily come into my circle anymore. I'm very, very protective of who is going to be around me, especially if it's going to be often. Like, I can't have negative, toxic people around me. It's just there's zero room for it, and again, like it has to work for me, and that's it.
Yeah, just you get to be way more particular and selective once you don't have so much people pleasing and fear of what people think,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and too, like it's not personal. Like I am not for everybody either. Like if I'm not quote unquote chosen for somebody, like that's okay. Like that's the way that you live and the way that I live. It doesn't mean like you have to hate each other. It just means that you're not, like you said earlier, like you're just not that compatible as you thought maybe you were. And
Mhm.
you're not. Like once you start to, live, you start and hang around somebody, you start to see what their real values are, you start to see what their real interests are, and sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that is it too. It's just wanting more and more to be around people who you're aligned with.
Exactly.
That's it. It's like energies too. It's like people do not jive with how I am at all. No problem.
Yeah, totally. So that's like the beauty of aging, guys. We hope you got a lot out of this. Join us next week for another juicy topic. And we will see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye, Soulsessed. Get Soulsessed.
Stay tuned, guys. We are thrilled to be here with each other, and feel so privileged to try and carry a message of hope and positive change to one other person out there. So please subscribe and review and share our podcast to reach that person. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Soulsessed Twins and get daily inspo and connect with us.
Let's build this community together.
100%. So come back next week and we'll see you then.
Get Soulsessed with us, Soul Tribe.
That's it. Bye, guys.